Hi, and welcome to my presentation about using Google in the social studies classroom. Here's a little bit of information about myself. My name is Lauren Weisler, and I'm a high school social studies teacher. The subjects I currently teach are 9th grade geography, economics, and current events, as well as 11th and 12th grade sociology. But I also have experience teaching world history and government as well. The purpose of this discussion is to help give social studies teachers some tips for using Google and give them examples of how they can use Google Documents, presentations, surveys, spreadsheets, and templates, as well as how they can use Google News and Google Earth in their social studies classroom. If you're new to Google or you've never used it before, there's a couple websites that Google has that'll give you some help. The one I'm pulling up now is the best that I've found for how to use Google in the classroom. So using Google Docs in the classroom, simple as ABC. It really breaks it down and tells you how you can create an account for yourself, how you can create and share docs, edit them, organize them, and where to find more information. If you've never used Google before, I suggest checking out some of these training tips from Google to help you out. Some of my own personal tips for using Google would be start out your semester or school year by having students create a Gmail account. This way you can have a list and have immediate access to emailing them their assignments. I also would recommend staying organized by creating collections for various units. That way it's easy for you to find the documents that you've created or documents that your classes are working on. Don't be afraid to search the template option. You don't always have to reinvent the wheel. There's tons of templates out there for things like syllabuses and rubrics, as well as lesson plans. I also think it's important for social studies teachers, as well as any teachers, to embrace the collaborative spirit of Google. One of the really great features of Google is the fact that students can work together on the same projects even if they're on different computers and be editing things at the same time. What's also an added plus about Google is the fact that they don't have to save anything to a drive, that it's all stored in the Google Cloud, which means students can be working at school, at home, and at the library. I really think social studies teachers could use Google in their classrooms for everyday projects and to really bring history to life for students. And we all know an interested student is a student that's probably going to learn more information from the course. Okay, so this is what your Google Documents homepage is going to look like. I'm going to start out today by showing you how to use the presentation feature. You can do, what's really great about Google is that it's compatible with Microsoft Office. So you can do one of two things. You can either start by creating a new presentation, or you can upload from a previous file or folder. So you could do things like upload your PowerPoint presentations. I'm going to show you an example of a presentation that my students did this year with geography. They had to do a country project where they had to choose a country and research it to give examples of certain features like the economic system or the leader, the flag, things like that. What's really awesome about the Google Doc presentation feature is that you can have one student do this by themselves, or they could work together and collaborate in real life time, meaning that two students could be working on the same presentation at the same time. So it works very similar to PowerPoint, where you can add slides, transitions, you can format the slides as well. It all saves to the Google Cloud, which makes it easy, so your students don't have to have USB drives or anything like that, and they can access this anywhere they have internet. You can also start the presentation and show it on any computer, just like this. So students learn a lot of information while also adding visuals, which I like, and the students, especially those who are creative, really get into. Next, I'm going to show you one of my favorite features on Google, which is the form option. To create your form, go to Create, Form. I'm going to show you an example of a form I've created. These forms look very similar to that of surveys, but I've created a form that at the beginning of the school year, when a lot of us give out surveys or information sheets, I've created a student information sheet form using Google. So students would add things like their name, the hour they had me, the parent's guardian's name, their contact number, letting me know if they have regular access to a computer and to the internet. They would then submit this form to me, which is going to give me the information. It's going to save it to me in a chart format, very similar to that of an Excel document, letting me know the student's information. And this way I have access to it all year round, which for me, papers get lost on my desk all the time. So this is a great way to keep me organized, as well as getting information about students that I need to help them be successful for the school year. Another great feature of Google is the template option. In order to find your templates, go to Create, and you're going to scroll down to see From Template. From there, you can search all kinds of categories for templates. One of my favorite options is the student and teacher templates. As you can see, a lot of teachers have already uploaded templates that they've made. I'm going to show you today one of the templates that I've used in my world history class. I downloaded a newspaper template, and I paired my students into groups where they had to make a newsletter explaining the beginnings of World War I. For this project, I would choose 2 to 3 students to be in a group. They would each be assigned to write an article on a different beginning of World War I that we had talked about in class. They would have to explain their article and then insert pictures and diagrams. Here's an example of one that I was showing my students. So for example, this student would write about Archduke Franz Ferdinand being killed. They would write their article about the events, and then they would also insert a picture. What's really great about Google is it makes it easy to insert photos without violating copyright. You simply go to Insert, the Image button. There, you can search images through Google Life or stock images, which makes it really easy for students to use in their projects. As you can see, I selected a photo to size into the newsletter. I just think this is a great project for students to do because not only are they collaborating, but they're also putting those critical thinking skills together where you're having to come up with causes of something and the events that took place. So one of my favorite resources to use in my current events class, or any history class for that matter, is going to be the Google News feature. And what's really great about this is you can customize your Google News page for the stories that you would like to see most often. In order to do that, you're going to click the Personalize Your News. So if I want to see more world news, I'm going to slide the cursor over so that world news stories show up more often in my news feed, which is really great, especially if that's something that I want to teach. You also have the option to add in topics that you would like to search for and to adjust your sources. So if you want to get a variety of sources, whether it's CNN, Fox News, a newspaper in China, this allows you to do that. So with my current events class, I often have them go in and check Google News when we're researching articles and things that are going on. But then I also like to have them check out different sources so I can teach about bias and really talk about how newspapers are written and how things are reported in different areas of the country. Another great feature, especially for those people teaching American history or world history, is using the search option, but searching the archives. So for example, I can search Walk on Moon in the archives, and I can get copies or look at what was written when astronauts walked on the moon. which is really cool for students to compare journalism back then and then looking at newspaper articles. And you can do this. They have archives back over 200 years. So that's a really great option, especially for history teachers who are looking to have students do some research, especially for primary source documents or anything dealing with events that have taken place. So using this Google News option is a great resource. Often when I use Google News in my class, I have my students research certain topics and then briefly describe the article from 3 different sources. That way, they get used to reading about an issue and a topic, but they're also looking at how things are written. And so I try to teach my students, especially looking for things like bias and trying to understand fact versus opinion in the news. So this is an example of a document that I use where students are comparing topics from the different sources. So I'm asking them to use those critical thinking skills for looking for similarities and differences between news sources. And it also gets them in the habit of citing where they're getting information from, which is a great skill for them to have. It wouldn't be social studies without maps. And of course, Google has an awesome maps feature. Not only does it have your very standard maps, it also has your satellite maps, but then Google Earth is the supreme map feature that Google has. And what's really great about that is it gives students a chance to really get interactive with maps. I use Google Earth and Google the satellite image frequently in my geography economics class, especially when we're talking about placing longitude and latitude, looking at directions, but it also gives students an opportunity to view things and view sites around the world that they never might have access to. So for example, I typed in my search option, Buckingham Palace, London. As you zoom in, Google Earth is going to give you the image of Buckingham Palace, which is a really cool feature for students to use, especially if they have never traveled abroad. See, there's Buckingham Palace, and I can zoom in, and I can even move my eye around and look from different views. So I could zoom in and get images from the courtyard and from the streets surrounding Buckingham Palace, which is a cool opportunity for students to use. Another thing that I do with Google Earth and Google Maps is I make students create their own map. They're going to title their map, give it a description, and they're going to select places. So I might have students map out their dream vacation. Or I could have students map out historical events. And this helps them not only with their mapping and geography skills, but it also gives them the opportunity to view places that maybe explorers or other famous features in history, their journey was. So it's just another way to get students involved in the learning process. In conclusion, the reason why I wanted to do my presentation on using Google in the social studies classroom was to help give some real life examples of how you can use this technology to help your students. There's tons of other ideas out there, and I encourage teachers to just give it a try. So often, teachers, especially social studies teachers in my building, tell me that they don't want to use technology because they either don't know how to use it or it takes too much time. And I try to encourage them by saying that it really is going to help our students prepare themselves for the future. And it also gives them a chance to bring social studies and history to life for them. When students are engaged and involved, they're learning more information that's going to stick with them for the future. So getting on the computer, being able to research and find out information on their own, lets students take a part in the classroom and own their project or their presentation. Google also makes it easy for students to collaborate and work together, which is also a vital part of the classroom setting with cooperative learning. So again, I encourage you to use Google, to use this technology. It's very simple, very easy, and user-friendly. So I hope you can take some of my ideas and use them in your own classroom. But if not, go ahead and just get in there and play around. I'm sure you're going to learn a lot. Thanks.